Hi, my name is Zoe. I'm so used to saying I'm the tipsy psychic. Hi, my name is Zoe the psychic. Maybe I'll just stick with Zoe. Yeah. Hello, my name is Zoe. Today I'm going to talk about your Saturn return. So what is your Saturn return? So for the sake of this video, I'm going to use my natal chart as an example. These are just some placements in my natal chart. I didn't really do like a full accurate representation of it, but it should be enough to explain to you what your Saturn return is and what that looks like. And I'm also going to talk about what that looks like in my life because I'm actually going through my Saturn return right now. So in astrology, planets are constantly orbiting around and passing through each one of your houses. When a planet returns to the same location it was when you were born, that is called a return. So your Saturn return is basically when your Saturn finds its way back to the same place it was at the time you were born. And yeah, my Saturn is right here in my natal chart on Aquarius and Pisces. It's actually on the cusp. And planets do rotate at different speeds. So Mercury rotates much faster than Saturn does. Saturn takes roughly 29 years to return. So when you turn around 29, usually between 27 years old and 31 years old, you're experiencing your Saturn return. It's coming back into its house where it was when you were born. It spends roughly about 3 years in each zodiac sign. So when you're like 27 or 31, you're going to feel that energy from the Saturn impacting you a lot. Saturn returns occur multiple times throughout your life, so every 29 years, you're going to deal with your Saturn return or experience your Saturn return. That's a better word for it. So like I said, the first one is between age 27 and 31. And then the second one is between age 56 and 60. And the third one, if you live that long, is between age 84 and 90. So you could experience 3 Saturn returns in your lifetime. It's an extremely pivotal time, and everyone experiences it very differently, some way more than others, and it all really depends on what sign it is in and what aspects are attached to it, what house is it in. So make sure that you check out what house and sign your Saturn is in your birth chart. You can get a free birth chart. I will post a link below or multiple links to places you can get your birth chart for free. I use apps, but you can also find their like websites so you can type in your information and get them for free. So make sure you do that before you watch this video. Your Saturn return is basically an astrological rite of passage. Saturn is a super challenging planet, and when it returns, it does not mess around. It's also known as a karmic planet. It forces us to make really big decisions and restructure our lives. It's like a transition into adulthood. Lots of major events happen during this time, like career changes, making babies, graduating, serious relationships, major life decisions, major moves. And in your second Saturn return, it would look more like retirement or family changes. But whatever happens has a very long-term effect. Saturn returns force you to be realistic and step up. It's about responsibilities and owning your mistakes. Saturn is a karmic planet. And you might find that everything you did, all the shit that you did in your 20s, comes back around to bite you in the ass when you turn 29. Trauma can come up and you're going to have to face consequences for things that you did in the past. And remember, where your Saturn is located really matters because it may not impact you as much. It may not be as big a deal for you. Saturn may not be as serious a placement for you. I mean, wherever Saturn is, it creates challenges, but for some people, it's like hell. Basically, your Saturn holds you accountable and it teaches you a lesson. And you may feel like things that happened in your 20s are now repeating themselves. And it's a time when you set boundaries and you really cement who you are. But it's not all bad. I mean, it's also a time when you're rewarded for all the hard work and discipline that you have put in. There are new opportunities, life-changing moments. Things are meaningful. And many of us just dread this time because we are dealing with our Saturn energy. Saturn is one of those planets that a lot of astrologers have just labeled as bad. They're like, if Saturn is in your birth chart, wherever it is, things are going to be bad. But the thing is, it's not that they're going to be bad, it's going to be that they're more challenging. You might feel limited. It represents limits, restrictions, boundaries, and fears. Saturn can also represent our father in our natal chart. It's about structure and discipline and hard work, but it's here for a reason. It's about developing self-respect and having faith. Faith is a big thing with Saturn. Faith in yourself. And also learning to be okay with being alone. Appreciating solitude. One of my favorite astrologers, whose name is Stephen Forrest, asks, in what area of life must you learn to act alone? Where will a lack of self-discipline lead most quickly to sorrow? Where will my ability to dream and have faith be severely tested? And when your Saturn isn't working properly or things are out of balance, it can make you feel depressed. It can make you feel like you have to bottle up your emotions and hide them. Cynicism, not feeling imaginative. Saturn reminds us that we are aging, which can actually be a struggle. I don't know about you, but turning 30 feels like a huge deal, and it's a lot. And there's a lot of pressure that we put on ourselves. So tarot and astrology are very linked and very related to one another, and there's always connections to find within the cards. And the card that represents Saturn is the Hermit card. So I'm going to show you here. There are a lot of different decks out there, but this is a really common representation of this old man kind of wandering through the night with this lantern, and he's alone. So this is Saturn. It's a reminder that wherever your Saturn is in your natal chart, you have to do things alone. And Saturn actually rules Capricorn and Aquarius. So when Saturn returns, everything about Saturn is amplified in your chart. All right, so I'm going to show you on my chart. I have mapped things out as best I can. I've only mapped out placements that are connected to my Saturn because it would just take too long to go into depth about my natal chart. And in another video or multiple videos, I'll go into reading your natal chart because I've gotten a lot of questions about that. But for now, let's focus on Saturn. So my Saturn is right here. It's in the 3rd house, and it's actually on the cusp of Pisces and Aquarius. So I'm 29 right now, and if you're around the same age as me, you will be feeling your Saturn return. I am feeling it full on right now. Like, I'm experiencing a lot of major shifts in my life. I feel like everything is becoming a really big deal, you know, really serious. So Saturn is the traditional ruler of Aquarius, which makes it very significant. And just so you know, anytime your planet is in a house it naturally rules, or a sign it naturally rules, it becomes more powerful, more energy, and it just becomes more impactful. Okay, so let's start with Saturn in Aquarius. What does that look like? And I'm also going to be talking about Saturn in Pisces because it's on the cusp of Aquarius and Pisces. So I want to make sure that you understand both those energies. Those of you who are a little bit younger than me are going to be probably experiencing that Pisces energy because, you know, Aquarius is moving into Pisces. But for all of you who are currently experiencing this right now, this Aquarius and Pisces, I know I get a lot of age groups on my channel, but a lot of people seem to be the same age as me, so maybe you're experiencing similar things. I don't know. Yeah, so basically Saturn is the traditional ruler of Aquarius, so it's going to feel a lot more at home here, which is a good thing. Aquarius is a very humanitarian sign. It also rules the 11th house, which has to do with humanity and friendships and organizations and, you know, overarching things, right? Big scheme things, big schemes. Basically the collective. And so when Saturn transitions through Aquarius, there are some major shifts that happen with the collective. Last time Saturn was in Aquarius, actually around the time that I was born, right? Some very impactful events happened. For one, the internet was invented. Aquarius is a very innovative sign. It's about science and technology, and now we're gonna really see social media coming into its own, right? We've seen a lot of development when it comes to social media and TikTok, and that has a lot to do with Aquarius. You know, it's gonna be changing into Pisces, so that will have a different energy, but we have a lot of this social shift, right? This shift in humanity and how we process things, how we process information. And so it's going to be quite interesting to see. And I mean, we've already been seeing it. Having your Saturn in Aquarius makes you a natural trailblazer, someone who thinks outside the box, someone with the ability to make real change. You can make a difference. Like I said, Aquarius rules the 11th house, and so that also represents community and friendship. And this is the time where you're gonna form your tribe and also attract serious friendships. You may face hardships early on in your life, but by their Saturn return, they have owned their individuality and they start to take their authenticity very seriously. During a Saturn return in Aquarius, you may feel the need to contribute more to the collective or find your voice and speak up. You will shape your lives around your views and what you stand for, while at the same time learning to find your place in your society. And I am definitely feeling this right now. I've always been someone who marches to the rhythm of my own drum, but I do feel like my ideals and my beliefs are suddenly really taking center stage for me. And I'm finally really cementing my voice, and I'm really developing a unique perspective that I don't think I fully could grasp before, even though it was always very unique. I'm someone who's always known what direction I'm going in. I've never questioned my path. I've never questioned my destiny, never questioned any of that. And I'm really lucky because I've never been one of those people who's felt really lost. Like, sure, I've had moments where I'm like, who the fuck am I? But it's never really felt permanent. You know, I've never fully felt that. But I've also been so open to everything and everyone in my life that it's been great. But I'm finally coming into my own where I feel like I really know, you know, maybe this is naive of me. Maybe this is part of the process, right? But I just feel like I really know kind of who I am even more. Like my identity, my sense of identity and self has been really coming into place, and a lot of that has to do with my beliefs, especially when it comes to spirituality and purpose. And I'm finally kind of shaping my life in a way to be authentic for me, you know, for my authentic self, to, you know, experience originality and not live by others' rules, but also feel like I have a place in society. I know, it's a lot. I've always been a very strong advocate for what I believe in, and I believe that has a lot to do with my Saturn, right? My Saturn in Aquarius, that placement is very powerful, especially in the 3rd house, which represents, you know, communication. And so lately I've just been having this urge to like speak up, and I feel my perspective changing. But it's also a path that a lot of other people do not agree with, and it can be controversial at times. And so if you are born with your Saturn, you know, in a position like this, you might feel like you're going against the grain a little bit because you're a trailblazer, but you're also aware that other people don't fully accept it. So during a Saturn return, you might have to deal with a lot of your past coming up to haunt you, maybe consequences happening for things you did that you thought you didn't have to deal with anymore, or that you moved on from, but for some reason they're coming back. And with Aquarius and Saturn, or Saturn in Aquarius, this is amplified because you will find with Aquarius a lot of repressed things that you didn't even realize mattered that much will come back. And I've had to like up my therapy because of this. You see, personally, I spent my entire life burning bridges and being very impulsive and making a lot of, you know, really impulsive decisions, moving around, just the way I went about life, there was no discipline, no limits, no boundaries. I just kind of did stuff. And now all these things that I didn't really think about, they are coming back. And it's been a struggle for me to form connections, like true connections, and commit. I have a lot of trouble with commitment. And now I'm being constantly reminded of those wrongs. I know it's all in my subconscious and it's all for the greater good. Like Saturn is trying to help me and it's trying to show me how to heal. Also, during a Saturn return, when it comes to Aquarius, they tend to have major shifts in their beliefs that contradict the way that they were raised. My parents instilled a lot of very strong beliefs, and I'm very grateful to them in many ways because the way that I was raised was very open, and they really taught me to embrace philosophy and, ask questions and be curious and learn for myself, for sure. But there are definitely certain belief systems that I've had my entire life that now I'm like, whoa, how could I believe that? This doesn't resonate with me anymore. So I feel like I've been sorting through them and trying to decide which ones still resonate with me and establishing my own way of doing things, even if I know that they wouldn't necessarily understand. I also feel like I am leveling up with the books I read and the education level that I consume, I guess, the way I learn things. I've just really narrowed down on what I appreciate. Okay, so Saturn in Pisces is not as simple because Saturn doesn't really know how to hang in Pisces. I mean, Pisces is all fluid, right? It's all like, it's water, and dreams and spirituality and just like the subconscious, right? And Saturn is like rigid. It's like, I need structure, I need foundation, but it ends up being more like the leaning tower of Pise. Pisces is just so fluid and intuitive. So for Pisces, a lot of the past can come back to haunt them at this time and cause a lot of guilt and shame. So a lot of the things that haunt them are things that cause them shame, or that things they just feel guilty about or feel resentful about or regretful. So they might have to face some regrets. And for me, I feel like it's kind of a combination with Pisces and Aquarius. As an aqua pie Saturn, I experience these traumatic memories, but also they're usually about shame. And so I feel like shame is a big lesson for me and a lot of anxiety. Personally, I've been getting panic attacks. The Pisces are dreamers, and when Saturn is floating through Pisces, it can make things very real, including dreams. Feelings have more seriousness, but also passions and dreams. Artistic projects gain relevance and respect, and they find themselves with discipline to see things through. Saturn returns make you reevaluate your feelings and your projections. And Saturn is also not a bad thing when it comes to Pisces because it mellows out any volatile emotions. And so you'll find if your Saturn is in Pisces, then you start to feel less like an emotional wreck at times. And you start to learn to master your emotions more. And you might not feel all over the place, It might feel really good. And Saturn's security forces Pisces to really deal with their insecurities. So during a Saturn return, they're really going to be faced with their own insecurities. They might feel the urge to channel their pain and struggles into artistic projects and start creating. And I feel like creating is a big theme for them. They also might feel more psychic or aware during this time. This is a time when they really learn to protect their boundaries. Jane Fonda, Kurt Cobain, Frida Kahlo all had their Saturn in Pisces. And they all went through this period as artists where they had to realize what they stood for and what kind of artist they wanted to be. And they felt the need to make art even if it meant saying fuck fame and pleasing others. This is my path. Now Pisces, when they're unbalanced, has a lot to do with escapism, and they might have a tendency to escape and do things to escape their mind and escape reality, right? But Saturn returns are like, nope, No more binge drinking and binge eating or binge watching Netflix. No more partying. Like, this is time to get serious and face reality. And so it's like this giant wake-up call. All right, so my Saturn is in the 3rd house. The 3rd house is the house of communication, siblings, information, early education, local travel. During a Saturn return in the 3rd house, there's this need to speak up and have a voice. And there's also this need to feel heard. Like, when people don't listen to you, it's not fun. It's not fun, okay? And you learn just how powerful your words are, often the hard way. And that can be spoken words and also written words. The 3rd house rules internet and social media. And my Aquarius in the 3rd house really impacts my take on social media and the internet and technology. Like, I have a huge love-hate relationship with social media. It is a huge challenge for me in my life. And I know I'm a YouTuber, but trust me, it is not easy for me. And it also covers gossip. So you might find that when it comes to your Saturn return in the 3rd house, you will start to feel like this aversion to gossip. Like, you're like, ew, gossip. I don't want to talk about people behind their back. I don't want to be around that. Like, I don't like rumors. Like, I feel that way. You know, I don't want to be a part of any of drama. And if someone is talking shit about someone, I like leave the room if I can, you know, because I don't like that. I'm a very blunt, outspoken person. I will say how I feel. I mean, sure, I can be compassionate and kind, but I really don't like when people talk about people. You know, it just, not my thing. You just don't give a shit. I don't give a shit. I don't care for drama. I know a lot of people say that, but with a Saturn return in the 3rd house, this like is cemented. You're like, I'm over it. I'm above this. And you just want real, honest conversations with people. And you actually start to set boundaries on what you say. Kitties, what are you doing back here? And you're more careful about how much you share and what words you choose. You may learn something about your childhood that makes you question everything. You start to question information that you learned as a kid and reevaluate the things that you were taught. And there will be lots of revelations that will turn your world upside down. That is definitely the case for me. And there's also this need for answers and truth that will set you up for your next phase in life. The 3rd house rules siblings. So I have a twin brother and I have an older sister. And I also actually have a bunch more siblings because I was donor conceived, and apparently I have like seven siblings or more. I don't even know. Anyway, it's another story. So my connection and relationship with my siblings has always been so strained. And during my Saturn return, I actually reconnected with them, and I actually feel like I'm much closer with them now. So I do feel like when you have this placement, you often have a really difficult time earlier on when it comes to your siblings. Like my siblings, I never really got along with them. My sister's so much older than me, and I just never really felt like connected to her. And then my brother, my twin, we were just so opposites, and we were constantly clashing, and we really just were never close. And then now we're like, we call each other up once in a while, you know? So it's been very interesting looking at our charts and seeing how things play out. I mean, he also has a Saturn in the 3rd house in Aquarius. We have the same chart, basically, 1 degree off. So in the past 2 years, I went from being estranged and disconnected to my sister, from actually developing a good friendship with her, and then also being like very distant from my brother and actually like reconnecting and, you know, exchanging ideas. So I actually have quite a few planets aspecting my Saturn. So a major one is that my sun is actually square my Saturn. This means that it's forming a right angle. Both Aquarius and Taurus are fixed signs, which also makes a difference, especially when it comes to Saturn, because Saturn has very fixed energy. Now, any planet that is aspecting the sun, the moon, or the ascendant, which is also known as the rising sign, is going to make a big impact. So if you look in your chart and any of those three are impacting a planet, you know there's going to be a lot of energy in that area, a lot of things playing out. I'm not going to go into detail about aspects in this video. I might make another video about that. But for now, just know that when a planet is square another planet, it creates tension between those planets. So squares are like friction. So what that means is that my Saturn and my Sun are basically clashing all the time. There is a lot of friction between them. Now, not only that, but my Saturn is also square my ascendant, which is here, and that's in Sagittarius. Your ascendant has a lot to do with the way people see you, the way you are perceived by the world, and the way you perceive the world around you, and the way you go about things. Yeah, so that's all impacted by my Saturn. It's also square my moon, my Mercury, and my Pluto. So I have like all these squares, this tension. When it comes to Saturn, I like to use a larger orb than with the other personal planets. So that is why I would include these for those of you who know about charts and reading astrology and degrees, because that's often like a debate among astrologers. But yeah, so basically, to keep it simple, all these planets are like at war with my Saturn. They're all like, fuck you, Saturn. We're going to fight you every step of the way. So all these planets are basically waging war with the one planet that helps me with discipline and boundaries and limits. Planets that represent communication, identity, emotion, how I see and act in the world around me are all being like, fuck you, boundaries. We're going to make it really hard for you to make them. But now with my Saturn return, it's only fueling that fight. So what I like to think of these as is when your planets are rotating, it's like trigger points being set off in your chart. I hope this makes any sense. I don't know. But basically, it's causing like a war with all of these different parts of my life and different aspects of myself. So some major ways that I've been experiencing my Saturn return is reconnecting with my siblings, past trauma resurfacing and haunting me, dealing with the consequences of my actions in the past, establishing my spiritual beliefs and questioning everything, and having this really strong need to share. Feeling the need to expand my social media presence and share my beliefs, even if others don't like them. Controversial things. Also filtering where I get my information from, not watching the news, setting really strong boundaries and not caving to every single whim. A lot of introspection and going within. Spending a lot of time alone, working on myself, but also creating a tribe. Like I've finally started to create friendships that I never had experienced before. And I feel like that's a major moment for me in my life, because I've always just kind of gone through life and I've never really committed or, worked really hard on creating long-lasting, really powerful friendships that were like a give and take and not one-sided. Because I just was kind of like a free spirit and I just kind of was open to everyone. But now I'm actually really forging strong bonds with people and making connections. And it's scary, but it's awesome at the same time. So this is the first time that I'm actually really doing that in my life. I've been trying to find my voice, and also that has a lot to do with why I changed my name on my channel. I changed it to Zoe the Psychic. That was the professional name that I use when it comes to like professional readings. So we decided to kind of make that all around a thing. And also the Saturn return in Pisces made me really revisit my desire to drink alcohol. And so Tipsy Psychic didn't necessarily resonate with me as much anymore. I mean, there's a story behind it and I do plan on talking about it, but I don't really drink, and why would I call myself that? So I was kind of like figuring out what my voice is, what I kind of want to reflect to the world, especially on social media. And I feel like my Saturn return is a major contributor to all of this. And I mean, those aspects, those square aspects on my chart have really caused a lot of tension. They've caused health issues for me over the years, really having trouble keeping up with social media and communication and the collective, and struggling to remain present. I will be creating a video on Saturn and what your Saturn is and what it means, and also what your Saturn return would look like for you. So make sure that you check into that one when I post it, and I will post that for the signs and also houses, so you will be able to learn a little bit more about your own chart. In the meantime, for those of you who do share my signs, the Aquarius Saturn or Pisces Saturn, I hope this was helpful for you. I've also talked a little bit about human design on my channel, and so as I've mentioned, I'm a manifester. I'm a 6-2 manifester, and 6-2 is really connected to Saturn. Line 6 is the role model line, and there are always 3 parts to it, and they're each like 29 to 30 years apart, which is very similar to, you know, your Saturn return. The first part is about discovery and trial and error. They do a lot of fucking up and learning from their mistakes, and it's kind of a shit show. It's very inconsistent, and it's really difficult for them to keep up with people, and they make a lot of mistakes, and it's kind of messy. It can feel hopeless at times, and it isn't easy. The second part after the first Saturn return is called being on the roof, and it's spent really looking outwards and seeing things, seeing like the big picture. They slowly start to feel more optimistic and positive about life, and the glass is half full, not half empty. They might seem unapproachable or detached during this phase because they're no longer living in this shit show of a life. They're above it, and they're on the roof, and they're seeing things from a different perspective. And the third phase is when they hit 50, and when they descend from that roof as their true, authentic selves. I am so ready to be up on that roof and no longer in the thick of chaos. I am so ready to become someone who can use my experience as an advantage instead of just feeling like I'm in this kind of like mess all the time, and actually like see things from a distance. So yeah, so the Saturn return is very impactful for someone with a 6-2 profile. Remember, you can get your human design chart as well. I will post the link for that below so you can see. It's free. You can see if you're a manifestor, what your profile is, if you have 6 in your profile and what that could mean. It can help you better understand your Saturn. And also 2 is also the Hermit. So it's kind of reflective of Saturn, isn't it? Because the Hermit card in Tarot represents Saturn. Woo! Okay, we're done. I know that was kind of all over the place, so I apologize. But if you stuck around, thank you so much for watching this video, and I cannot wait for more of it. Please subscribe to my channel if you liked this video or if you want to learn more. I do plan on talking about your Saturn if I didn't cover it. Comment below and tell me what sign your Saturn is located in and what house. I would love to know. Remember, you can get your chart and get it for free, so do it. It's always great because it also helps me understand how to help you if you comment and you have like an issue. I can know like what your placements are. You know what I mean? Also, the day I'm filming this is Valentine's Day, so yay. Happy Valentine's Day, even though it's late for you. Yeah. Bye.